You ever been scrolling and a video ad just stops you in your tracks? It feels premium, it feels like it's talking directly to you, and by the end, you're actually thinking about clicking. Well, that isn't magic. It's a blueprint. And today, we are going to deconstruct that exact formula. Okay, let's get into it.
Everything starts right here. 3 seconds. That's it. That is the entire window you have to stop someone's thumb from just swiping right past your ad. Before you can even tell your story, before you can sell anything, you have to win the battle for these first 3 seconds. Honestly, it is the most critical part of the whole thing.
So, how do you actually do it? Well, that brings us right to phase one, the emotional hook. We're not worried about the full 2 minutes yet. This is all about mastering those first 20 seconds to turn someone who's just passively scrolling into a viewer who's actually paying attention.
Now, the key phrase here that you really got to focus on is personal resonance. See, a great hook doesn't just shout for attention. No, it whispers something the viewer is already thinking. Its job is purely emotional. It's all about making them feel instantly seen, instantly understood.
This right here, this is probably the biggest mental shift you need to make. In those first few moments, you are not a salesperson. You're an ally. Your only goal is to connect with their frustration, their confusion, whatever their pain point is. When you validate their problem, you build this immediate foundation of trust.
And this just illustrates the point perfectly. Look at the left. Our ebook uses AI. That's a feature that's all about you. But look at the right. Tired of confusing online schemes? See, that's about them. It taps into a real frustration they're already feeling. One is just a statement, the other is an invitation to a real conversation. You always lead with the problem.
Okay, so you've hooked them. You've validated their problem. But you can't just leave them there, right? So now we move into phase two, the narrative pivot. This is that absolutely crucial transition from acknowledging that pain to introducing just a little glimmer of hope. But right before you pivot, you just solidify that feeling one last time. You remind them of that cycle they feel stuck in. Endless searching, failed attempts, zero results. They're sitting there, nodding along, feeling that exact frustration, and that sets the stage perfectly for the dramatic shift that's about to happen. And boom, there it is, that single question. That's the pivot. It's the hinge that the entire ad just swings on. It doesn't give them the solution yet, not at all. It just opens the door to curiosity. It completely changes the emotional tone from frustration to pure possibility. And once you've opened that door, now you introduce the solution. But here's the critical part. It has to be framed to answer all their biggest unspoken fears. You present it as smart, so it feels powerful and credible. You show that it's simple, just a series of clear steps. And you make sure they know it's accessible, which tells beginners, hey, you can do this too.
Okay, so the solution is on the table, but now you have to make them truly believe in it. And that brings us to phase three. Building conviction. Think of this as a powerful 1-2 punch. First, you appeal to their logical brain, and then you appeal to their emotional heart. You have to address the skepticism head on. Their brain is already firing off all these objections, right? But I can't code, but I don't have any experience. This part of the ad just systematically dismantles every single one of those doubts. It gives them clear, tangible proof that just removes all the risk. Then, once their logical mind is on board, you pivot again. But this time you're going from proof to desire. You stop talking about the features and you start painting a picture of their future self. You're not selling an ebook anymore. You're selling the feeling of being confident, of being in control, of being free. Let's really look at this comparison. Proof speaks to the mind. It's beginner-friendly. That's reassuring, it's logical. But desire. Desire speaks to the heart. Feel the confidence of success. That's transformational. A truly fantastic ad has to do both. It satisfies that logical need for proof, and then it ignites that emotional engine of desire. All right, this brings us to the final and maybe the most important phase. This is where all your hard work actually pays off. Phase 4, the final command. This is where you take all that interest and desire you've built up and you channel it into one single clear action. So many ads build up all this incredible momentum, and then they just fumble at the very end with some weak, passive suggestion. After you've earned their trust and you've sparked their desire, you have not only the right, but actually the responsibility to be direct. Don't ask. Tell them exactly what to do next. And here it is.
It's a simple three-part formula for a call to action that gets results. First, you start with a command verb, like download or start. Then you add a little bit of urgency, now, today. And finally, you make it ridiculously simple. Click the link below. No confusion, no hesitation, just action.
And that's it. That's the complete framework. So let's just do a really quick recap, because this isn't just theory, right? This is a practical blueprint you can literally use to craft a powerful 120-second story that actually converts. It all boils down to these 4 phases. First, the emotional hook, to stop the scroll by making them feel understood. Second, the narrative pivot, to turn that problem into a real possibility. Third, you build conviction, hitting them with logic and proof, then with desire. And finally, you bring it all home with that final command, a clear, urgent instruction that turns their interest into your action. So you see, this structure, it's the science behind the art of persuasion. It gives your message a clear path to follow, from that very first second all the way to the final click. So I guess the only question left is, now that you have the blueprint, what story are you going to tell?